On this episode of Real Screaming Kayaks, part 2 of episode 13 continues. In our NZ destination, where we visit the upper northeastern part of Coromandel, we carry on discovering some epic fish and more surprises. In the fish finder screenshot section this time, I have some more amazing images from my hummingbird Helix 9 Mega Chirp and a recipe, something different to do with snapper this time. We look at a nice way to impress your friends and also quite easy to make. Very tasty. All this and more coming up on Real Screaming Kayaks. In the first part of our NZ destination feature, where we headed up to the northeastern point of Coromandel Peninsula to set up camp at Stony Bay, we headed out on the first evening for a fish and got some nice species. On day 2, we set our challenge to catch our dinner for the night, and so the adventure continues. Damien hooked up on something which looks very much like a snapper. He reckons. Little snapper. It's not really the time of year for snapper around this side, so you do get a lot of smaller ones, but yeah, they're here. But the bigger fish come around this side. They all head around to the Hauraki Gulf and then come around here during the colder part of the year. So Damien's been getting sharked by something down there, and I'm bringing this kahawai up. He just came up at 1,000,000 miles an hour. I'm expecting to see this shark that supposedly is getting Damien down there coming up with these fish, but I haven't seen it yet. Oh, and he just about jumped in the kayak then. Great. Yes. Oh boy, these guys are making short work of bringing themselves on board. Especially when they do that. I mean, look, I had that guy hooked pretty quickly, and off he just came straight up, like at a frantic rate. Some of them have more beans than others. See you later, bud. Whew. Full on. They fight so hard. So, hooked up again. This time I've switched sets to the smaller slow jerk set with the hybrid reel and a smaller jig, the little 60-gram slow J, and yeah, I think I'm hooked into a kahawai. Yep, sure enough. By now we had drifted at least 2 kilometres back north of where we started at Lion Rock, and it was amazing to see how many kahawai we had caught. The area that we drifted suggested this place just had multitudes of kahawai in residence. This could get interesting. This is where I need to swing myself around. Now he's done a bit of a dive down. This is the difference when you're using this lighter gear. You can't own these fish the same as you can when you're using the heavier sets. You have to play them out a bit more gently. Let's hope I don't have Damien's problem and get sharked. Actually, it was quite a hard case before. One of Damien's fish that when he got sharked, came up to the surface, and the shark was jumping on the surface also. So, yeah, here we go. Beautiful sized kahawai these, and this kind of gear, they certainly put up a good fight. Got to tire them out. It's the only way. Here we go. Welcome aboard, as Damien would say. There we go. Off you go. So Damien's was saying how he's had something hooked on, and look at that. Gurnard. Not a bad gurnard, mate. That's going to be tasty. I love the colours on these guys. Check that out. Stunning looking fish. You know, Yeah, beautiful. And they make a bit of a croaking sound. Is that one croaking, mate?
Nah, not really.
No croaking going on, eh? Well, it's been an awesome morning. Definitely Damien's day. And we're heading back in now for a bit of a break for lunch. And then we're going to go for a dive this afternoon. I'm really looking forward to that. Maybe that'll be my lucky part of the day, to get in for a dive and hopefully spear something. Jeff's never tried butterfish before, so we'll do our best to try and get him one of those, and who knows what else is around. We'll have to wait and see. But going in for a break, have some lunch and head out in a few hours this afternoon for a swim. That afternoon we headed back up the coast for a dive, and while Damien and I got in the water, Jeff would head out onto an outer reef and do some fishing. Recently Damien had decided that he would like to give free diving and spearfishing a go, so this would be his first time in the water since he was very young. He seemed to enjoy it, but it was going to take some time for him to get a handle on all his gear and get his weight belt sorted. Conditions were near perfect, yet the visibility was not so great, and I spent quite a bit of time looking around for any remote areas that contain lots of fish life. It was a beautiful area though, with lots of ledges, and I did manage to find some kinna, so cracked some open, and that brought in this moray eel. I spent a little bit of time checking him out and filming him before he got spooked by me getting too close to him and headed off away from where I was. I had never dived this location before and had only fished it in previous trips up the coast, so it was all new to me. And what was really apparent was the very big lack of fish life here, with a lot of weed missing from the rocks and a lot of barren areas which were occupied by kinna. This is concerning because the snapper that would normally be here would keep the kinna under control. So obviously this area has had quite a bit of pressure from fishing and spearfishing in the past. Even the butterfish were very hard to find. I saw one in the kelp at one stage, but that was it. And compared to where I would normally dive further down the coast, there was very little here to spear. So I left everything I saw alone. The only fish that would have been a possibility to spear was a poor-eye. However, because we already had plenty of fish, I left it alone. There wasn't really any crayfish around either, which suggests that the area has been really depleted of crayfish stocks. After spending a couple of hours in the water looking around, it was time to head back to camp. So it seemed it wasn't to be my day diving today, but we still had a really good smorgasbord of kingfish, gurnard, John Dory back at the camp, and we would share it with some of the others later on this evening. So here we are, day 3 of our adventure on the eastern side of Coromandel, and another stunning morning. We've got about half a day today, and we're heading out to Lion Rock again in search of kingfish, and also be nice to see another one of those frostfish that we saw yesterday. Very rare catch in Coromandel. Not very often you see one of those, and according to a few people we've talked to last night, Kerry Flowers kayak fisherman, well known on YouTube, check out his channel. he was saying that normally we get them in about 230 metres or deep water, so to get one in 50 metres like that was pretty special, let alone catching one in Coromandel. So anyway, heading out and we'll see what happens today. Just got out here, first fish of the day, happened to be a kahawai and it's full of beans. It's come up feisty as. Yeah, jumping and carrying on. I just seem to be getting a lot of kahawai at the moment. And there we go. Horse of a kahawai too. There are so many of these guys around. And he's taken that hook well into his mouth. Well, good promising start, but wrong species. See you later, bud. Off he goes. Sweet as, and we're just started jigging. So, hoping for a good morning. So we've been jigging and chucking stick baits around all morning, and we still haven't really managed to get a lot. And this is the thing with fishing. Sometimes the fish just aren't hungry. So you've just got to keep trying and keep looking around, working areas until they come on the bite. So we'll keep fishing this morning. It's been a bit of a slow morning for us. I've had one hit on the jig, but no hookup unfortunately. Definitely felt like a kingy, and you know, a lot of kahawai around, but yeah, it's oh, I've got something. Oh, nice. Yeah, awesome. Here I am just talking about how slow the morning's been going, and I hook up. So perseverance is what you've got to have with fishing, and I have no idea what this is. Might just, oh look, it's a golden snapper. Foul hooked. It's not a bad size one either for a goldie. Let's have a look at him. I'll try and bring him up. This is the thing, there's so many schools of fish down there. It's not a bad goldie. We might actually put that one in the back. Check that out. Beautiful looking fish. The boys were all trying hard to jig, but check that guy out. You can see the colours on that. Beautiful looking fish. Now you've got to be bloody careful with these guys. Those gill rakers there are razor sharp. You get one of those on your hand and you're in trouble. So yeah, got to be real careful with them. But I might actually put this one in the back and take this home for a feed, because they're really nice eating golden snapper. So yeah, excellent. Bit of a bycatch from jigging. You know, the fish are so thick down there where we're jigging. You know, we're looking for concentrations of bait fish and things like golden snapper to basically find those kingfish that we're looking for, and who knows what else. So it's all about perseverance. Jeffrey's onto something as well.
In a minute when it comes up, does it snap to fly and leap at you?
No, it's something else.
That's a snapper.
It's another goldie?
Another golden.
Another goldie snapper, eh?
It's a snapper.
Awesome. Well,
oh no, it's a golden.
It's a goldie snapper, yeah. Nice.
Oh, another big one. Well, that'll be my first edible one of those.
Nice, eh?
I reckon.
Jeff hasn't had a golden snapper to eat before, so.
It'll be tea tonight.
Reasonable. Damien's fishing some micro jigs and out here in 45 metres. Just shows you the diversity of these jigs. Pigfish. Out here in this depth, man, that's hard case. Yeah, different species. Damien with his pigfish, very nice. Different species. Gee, we've had a few species this time, eh, Damien?
Yeah.
How many you reckon, bro?
Oh. I don't know, seven species or something, I don't know.
7 species, yeah. Be at least that, eh?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome. Where have all the kingfish gone? We have been looking hard for them all morning without a lot of luck. We've just had a few coming on, but it's been very, very slow today. Very slow. And we're running out of time before we have to get back to the camp at Stony Bay and pack up. So we're trying our best to get ourselves a couple more fish. But that's fishing, you know. Some days are harder than others. And the person who perseveres for the longest will end up being the one who gets rewarded. All of us continued to stay focused on finding the fish, and eventually our perseverance paid off, with the school of kahawai starting to push bait fish up onto the surface. Well, kahawais have just erupted on the surface out in front of us, and we're all off chasing after them because there's a good chance that there's kingfish underneath the school of fish there. So it's a good workup of kahawai up on the surface. Something's probably pushing them up. So, you know, for them to come up like this, and they're on the move too. They're moving pretty quick. We're going to get right next to them and try and drop a jig down and see if we can pull something out of it. You can see them there, good boil up of them, and there's a big rise on the sounder, so yeah, well worth checking out. And now I'm right next to them, so I'm going to drop down below and see what I can pull out of this, because there is fish for Africa. And all of us are around the school of kahawai. So exciting to see this kind of stuff happen in front of you like this. Yep. We're not giving up yet. We're not far away from giving up. Here they come, they're back up again. Awesome to see. Here they come. You can see those fish there. Look at this. They're everywhere. Woohoo! Huge school of kahawai here. All swimming under the kayak. There's tons of them. We're just chasing and chasing and chasing these fish. They're on the move, rounding up something, and we're just chasing them down. Clearly these guys are working something serious in terms of a bait fish school. Just huge. They're all up on the surface feeding. There is so much stuff in the water. Silver scales everywhere. So they've got something and they're bringing it up to the surface. Where? Oh yeah. Jeffrey's just telling us a Marco did a big flip out there. I didn't see that one. Look at this. And then everything went quiet. Jeffrey's finally hooked up on something. Hooked up on one of these kahawai that's swimming around like this. But how spectacular is it to see this work up on the surface? Big kahawai, alright.
Go and eat some more fish.
The boys are giving it their best shot to try and hook something in amongst this lot. We're following them around and dropping jigs down. It's pretty hot work, especially in this part of the day. It's baking hot today, at least 29 degrees. And we're just about to call it quits, and then Jeff hooks up, and it looks like it's something a bit better too. Might even be a kingfish, which would be nice.
Whatever it is, it bloody feels.
Yeah, Yeah, it's pretty feisty, wasn't it?
Oh, what's right next to it?
Oh, look at this Marco here. Oh,
You got it?
yeah. Oh no, it got
my
munched out by the Marco.
My kingfish!
Oh man, look at that. Brutal. Here comes the Marco again. Check him out. Holy guacamole. Oh my goodness. That is nuts. It's not a big Marco, but it's...
It wiped out my kingfish.
Whoa. Check that out. Look at the size of that Marco. It's coming.
Pull it out, Damon.
Watch it.
Quick, Damon. Come on.
That was an alright kingfish too.
Yeah, I know.
Typical. He's right there. He's cruising around under the kayak. Hey.
I'm going to throw this back in though, and hopefully Mr. Marco can have the rest of his dinner. So, you ready?
Yep. He'll be back to pick that up pretty quick. That's sinking down. Well, that was pretty spectacular stuff, eh, guys? You know, bit unexpected, but, you know, you get sharks in areas where there's lots of fish activity, eh, boys?
I reckon. And that must have been the one we saw earlier that I told you was jumping out there.
Yep. Bit of excitement, and that's us, eh?
Wicked.
That was my last
What an
go.
end to our trip out on day 3. Man.
3 more drops, and the last one I hook a kingy and it gets Marco.
We have worked so hard all day. We've
That
worked,
might be that shark, eh?
we worked so hard all day to get some fish, and when we finally did get one kingy that looked like it might have been legal, it got eaten. Unbelievable. We just had the most insane last fish of the day, and the Mr. Marco shark attached to the end of it when it came up for Jeff Force. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Right around the kayak. He had no fear whatsoever of us. He just wanted that kingfish. It was just absolutely manic. The fish are still working around here. The kawai is still working and jumping, but that Marco was just, that was a close encounter. You know, for anyone that's watching and you know, worried about sharks, they should be respected. You know, there was 3 of us here. We were erring on the side of caution with that Marco, but we gave him the fish at the end of the day because he got most of it anyway. And we thought we'd give him the offering, and hopefully he'll leave whatever else is down there alone now. But yeah, truly amazing marine wildlife. Well, heading back now, just coming back into Stony Bay. What a morning. Hard fishing, but that's what happens sometimes, you know. Fish can't always be on the chew, but the whole point of getting out there and enjoying this thing we call kayak fishing is to get outdoors and enjoy everything that Mother Nature's got to offer. It's, you know, we are so lucky in New Zealand with the country that we have. It's just amazing. Beautiful scenery. It really is relatively untouched compared to a lot of places in the world that I've been to, where you've got population build up and also pressure. New Zealand definitely has had a little less pressure in terms of fishing, and that's why we still have fish, and I believe it's something that we must look after and appreciate. So, you know, my message is take enough for a feed and leave the rest for the future. This episode features my Humminbird Helix 9 Gen 2 mega. With this episode heavily featuring mechanical jigging, I thought it only right to bring you some images from my Humminbird Helix 9 that show what to look for when you're jigging for kingfish and other species. So this set of screenshots that I have here shows a whole lot of bait fish, and that is part of the key when you're doing this kind of fishing, is to actually put your jig in areas where there's bait fish. So you can see as we move along the reef a whole bunch of concentrations of bait fish, but even as those bait fish appear to end, another bunch turns up on the fish finder. And this one here that's coming through in particular is very, very concentrated. That deep red center indicates that it's a very tightly packed school of fish. They're quite spread out, but also you'll notice that there's some other fish down on the close to the sea floor there as well. And as we move along, the bait fish continue to show up. What's interesting here is you can see those lines, which are definitely kingfish, and they're pushing the bait fish up off the bottom. So there is obviously kingfish there to be had, and this clearly shows it. As we get further out from the reef, you can see the depth changes. We started at about 32 meters and then went to about 40. Using a GPS to track your drift lines while doing these kind of activities, mechanical jigging, is very, very useful and allows you to track where you've been drifting. But also in the sonar feature, using the zoom function to investigate and look closely at those bait schools that we looked at in the beginning is another useful tool. And this can really help you to identify what you're actually looking at on the screen more closely. In this case, with this bait school, the sounder fails to cope with the density of it and will not auto-lock past what's showing up on the screen. This is because I have the depth setting to auto, and to overcome this problem you need to manually adjust the depth so that it suits the depth that you're fishing. Again, we go back to the drift line and you can see clearly the direction that we're drifting. This is really useful because it helps you, if you go back for another drift, to actually know where you've drifted so that you keep focusing on those bait schools. Plus it allows you to make adjustments in your drift line to either side of the original line that you took. Looking at this shot here with the zoom function again, there's those bunches of fish underneath the school that are starting to push the bait schools up. And you can see the lines there. They're clearly kingfish and they're moving up. And you can see them attacking at that bait school. This is really awesome because when they're in this mode, you know, dropping jigs down, you're more likely to get some inquiries from those fish. So they're really engaging with that bait school above at the moment. And so it's an exciting time. You know, that's when the kingfish are starting to fire up. And also I notice there's some kahawai in there as well. So getting this view is crucial to having that ability. Again, we look at the drift line and we're almost at the outer edge of the reef. And that means that soon it's going to be time to go back and have another drift. For more information on Humminbird fish finders, visit the website. This Thai fish cake recipe goes really well with snapper, but will also work with any other fish that has nice white flesh. To make the fish cakes, you'll need 300 grams of skinless, boneless snapper fillet or other white flesh fish, 1.5 teaspoons of Thai green curry paste, store-bought's fine, 1 kaffir lime leaf or lime zest, 1 teaspoon of fish sauce, 2 teaspoons of sweet chili sauce, 1 egg, 1/4 cup of panko breadcrumbs, 40 grams of green beans. Start by completely patting the fish dry, removing any excess moisture on both sides of the fillet. Now dice the fish until it has a fine minced consistency. Thinly slice the beans into small pieces. Remove the tough central stem of the kaffir lime leaf and discard. Then thinly slice the remaining part of the kaffir lime leaf and chop so the pieces are small. Now add the minced fish to a large stainless bowl then add all the remaining ingredients. Mix well so all the ingredients are combined properly to make an even consistency. The fish cakes can be now set aside and left till later or even overnight, with the flavours penetrating the fish, creating a really nice intense flavour. Okay, now it's time for the dressing, and for this we'll need 1/4 to half a fresh chilli, which is optional, 2 teaspoons of fresh ginger, 1 clove of garlic, the juice of a lemon, 2 teaspoons of soy sauce, 1.5 tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, 1 tablespoon of sesame oil, half a teaspoon of fish sauce, and 1 tablespoon of coriander leaves for garnishing. Firstly, if you're using the chili, start by removing the seed pod and the husk, then finely chop the flesh. Finally grate the ginger. Now remove the skin from your garlic, then crush and mince using a garlic crusher. Finally, squeeze the lemons before adding all remaining ingredients into a small bowl and mixing thoroughly to make a nice smooth consistency, and there you have your beautiful dressing sauce. To finish off, chop the coriander, and then finally I like to add the coriander to the dressing just before I serve the fish. Now it's time to cook our fish cakes. Preheat a fry pan and add a good drizzle of olive oil. Using a 1/4 cup measure, scoop out the fish cake mixture. With the fry pan preheated on a medium-low heat, add the fish cake and then flatten down with a spatula. Cook for about 2 to 3 minutes each side until golden brown. Drain the fish cakes quickly on some paper towels before serving with a fresh green salad, then drizzle with our pre-made dressing, and this can also be put onto the salad. The flavours of this dish are just spectacular, and you will absolutely love having your snapper done like this. Special thanks to our sponsors. Outdoor Sports New Zealand provide the Old Town kayaks and Ocean kayak that get us to the action. Humminbird provides the technology that finds the fish. Railblazer customises our kayaks. Sharkskin protects the body against the elements. Neptune assists with the freediving, and Pelage captures the seafood. Jigstar rods fight the fish, and Zest jigs attract the fish.